Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So we are doing our regular roundup of what's going on in terms of the most popular blockchain games, at least in terms of on-chain activity. So that's looking at blockchain games and people who are sort of playing the game in such a way that they are interacting with the smart contract. So often blockchain games have off-chain activity. We're not looking at that, we're just looking at the on-chain stuff. So obviously August 2022 is the month we've added. These are got three graphs. This is the sort of the graph of the sort of most popular ones. In terms of the biggest two, we have in blue we have Alien Worlds, which runs mainly on the Wax blockchain, a bit of stuff on the BNB blockchain. That's been pretty steady, sort of just around the 200,000 daily active unique wallets. As you can see, sort of throughout the year, that's been fairly steady. So yeah, Alien Worlds is sort of doing what it's doing. They've got a whole bunch of stuff on their roadmap coming up, some new features. So we'll be sort of looking forward in the coming months to see how that changes the situation. Second place, we have Splinter Land. So Splinter Land is sort of recovering from the big dip it had in sort of start of June, where it changed its rewards system to give more rewards to the more skilled players who were playing out of sort of bigger card decks. So had sort of invested more money. So a lot of bots left at that stage. We can see from that sort of that at that period it actually dropped to under 100,000 daily active unique wallets. It's now sort of moving its way back up to 200,000. So actually Alien Worlds and Splinterlands are now sort of pretty much sort of neck and neck in terms of the most popular blockchain game, as much as that means sort of anything, that symbolism. So I imagine with Splinterlands that could be, I think, a combination of more people sort of playing because you get more rewards. So basically every season lasts 2 weeks and people are sort of coming in and I think sort of playing because they get more sort of out there, more cards and more tokens. Probably some bots are coming back in as well. So as probably people who run bot farms sort of work out the best way to invest and what cards what are the best cards to buy, the most cost-effective way of getting their rewards out. I guess there's a lot of that sort of stuff going on. So anyway, that's what's going on with those two big games. Farmers World, red line on Wax. So it peaked about 150,000 daily active unique wallets in sort of June-ish, or sort of late May, I suppose. Sort of steadily declined, now under 100,000. There's been some sort of maybe not controversy, but there's been some interest around that. And in fact, last month, I get this data from DAppRadar. DAppRadar didn't have any data, actually took Farmers World off, stopped tracking it because there was sort of concern there are a lot of bots on there. Seems to be back on there. I mean, I think it is a game that probably does have a lot of bots because it's a very simple game. I mean, similar, as I said, Splinterlands has, we know it has bots. Alien Worlds, again, I'd be extremely surprised if there wasn't a decent fraction of the user base were bots. It is a view, I guess, a personal view, whether you think bots are good or bad for blockchain games, because blockchain games contain value. They tend to attract a lot of bots. Even non-blockchain games have bots. So that is what it is. But anyway, yeah, Farmers World sort of seems to have peaked. And again, a lot of these sort of products, I think, over time, unless you're launching new features and there's new stuff going on, you tend to have sort of have a sort of that sort of cycle. You sort of peak and then probably go to steady decline. It also depends a little bit on token prices. Obviously, token prices are still a bit uncertain at the moment. When token prices start going up, obviously that can drive a lot of users in a very short period of time. What else we got? So we've got Axie Infinity in orange. So that's sort of, again, sort of coming down from its early year sort of highs. They're waiting to sort of reboot this new Origins version of the game. So again, sort of a sort of waiting period for them. They're also looking to release for the first time the mobile version of the game through the app store, so that will be really the time we'll be looking to see what's going on there. Again, with Axie, most of the activity happens off-chain, so this is just looking at what's happening on their Ronin sidechain in terms of sort of people claiming tokens and trading and breeding, that sort of stuff. So a new game we've added, sort of ummed about it a little bit, but we have a Gameta, however you pronounce it, Gameta, Garmeta, I don't know. So that's the green line. So this is sort of a a collection of mini games or collection of hyper casual games, however you want to describe it. Was originally just running on the Solana blockchain, and has had sort of quite a big pickup in the last sort of few days. They've just added sort of a play to earn element on the BNB blockchain, so that's sort of what's sort of booted that up. So now actually over 100,000 daily active unique wallets. We'll see how long that sustains. Often with these sort of added sort of play to earn mechanics, obviously as we've sort of seen, they can draw in a lot of users, but those users are very dependent on the price of the token rather than the sort of the enjoyment of the game. So we'll see what happens with Game Meta. But I thought, as it's over 100,000 now, probably worth putting that one in. Okay, so our second graph, these are the sort of slightly sort of less popular, I suppose. These are the first graph was sort of ones over 100,000 sort of daily active unique wallets. These are the ones sort of under 100,000. Obviously, there's a lot when you get down to sort of the tens of thousands. There's a lot in there, but these are just the sort of ones I've sort of pulled out because I wanted to talk about. Uplands is always in there. So Uplands is a mobile game, sort of like a it's sort of interesting in terms of how it uses the blockchain because basically it does have a sort of a token, but it's a token you can't take out of the game. You buy it with in-app purchases through the App Store, so it's basically sort of a slightly hybridized game that is you trying to use the sort of power of App Stores to gain sort of mass adoption. So it sort of peaked earlier in the year. It sort of undulated a little bit. So it peaked again in sort of I guess sort of May, about 50,000 daily active unique wallets. Now sort of dropping down. Sort of under 40,000 ish. I think over time that game has become sort of fairly complex. So I think it's one of the problems with games is particularly actually with blockchain games where you have you have a sort of very interested sort of niche sort of fan base that's sort of potentially putting a lot of value, putting a lot of money into your game, and they sort of always require more complex features, and that can then make it hard for sort of newbies to understand what's going on. So anyway, it's pretty steady where it is, but I think it's a game that's been out now for a year and a half, and when games have been out for that period of time, that's when they sort of have to start thinking seriously about how they sort of manage that sort of what we call sort of elder gameplay, how you manage the stuff that interests people who've been playing since day one, and how you balance that with bringing in new people. So there we go. We also have in yellow DeFi Kingdom, so that runs on the Harmony and the Avalanche blockchains. And they've also announced now that basically they're shutting down the Harmony side and they're going to go to the Clayton blockchain. So it's quite a big change for them. They're doing that because the Harmony blockchain is basically having lots of problems, and they had a bridge attack. They've got loads of congestion. Basically, the community are not very happy. Token prices are all down on DeFi Kingdom, so they've made a sort of a bold decision, and now they've got to go through this transitional period. So, not a great surprise that we're seeing sort of activities continuing to drop. It's really sort of the hardcore players now continuing to play that, and we'll wait to see what happens when it relaunches on Clayton. And then I've also added in red Nine Chronicles. So Nine Chronicles, South Korean PC-based RPG, runs on its own blockchain, its own infrastructure, which is sort of quite brave these days. And it's been sort of growing quite steadily. So I haven't played it recently. Played it quite a lot sort of earlier, certainly in 2021. Played it quite a lot. It sort of has a sort of idle mechanic, which I'm not sure is particularly well suited to PC. Would sort of work better on mobile, but at the moment just a PC download. Sort of still in beta, but they seem to be sort of growing quite well. They've had had quite a bit of investment into their infrastructure and into the game, and that seems to be sort of paying off. So they're still sort of fairly small. 15,000 daily active unique wallets. That's not enormous for any game, even a blockchain game. But it is sort of a very, I guess, sort of typical South Korean RPG, really nice artwork, some sort of grindy mechanics that has decent stuff like a marketplace where you can sort of buy and sell stuff. So keep an eye on that one. And then finally, I've added these ones in, which again are sort of, I mean, I'm going to say they're fairly small. I mean, they're not fairly small to some degrees, but they're sort of following a typical sort of blockchain game trajectory, that they launch sort of very big, and then it's sort of unclear in the long term or even the medium term how they're going to sustain that. So there are 3 games here. They are in yellow. They are Solitaire Blitz, and in red, Trick Shot Blitz. Both of those are running on the Flow blockchain. They're both from the same developer called Joyride out of the US. Pretty experienced team there. And I guess these are interesting, you know, in the sense that there's not been any big games, or these have been the biggest games on Flow by miles. And Flow is sort of a blockchain designed for games, and it's always been a bit of a sort of mystery why there haven't been more games. I think that's partly to do because it's not an Ethereum compatible blockchain, so people have to start from scratch, and it's hard to get people to do that. Anyway, so Solitaire Flow launched first and did pretty well. And we can see Trickshot Blitz has launched really well, so sort of peaked at least one day over 75,000 daily active unique wallets. So I mean, dropped back again straight away, but still, you know, 250,000, sorry, 25,000. We'll see where we end up with that one. But you've got now 2 games on the Flow blockchain. They're both mobile games, I should point out. So you know, it matters, I suppose, a little bit less sort of exactly what they're doing as titles, but interesting for Flow that now it has maybe, you know, 50,000 people who have sort of played games, mobile games using that. So we'll see where they end up with those ones. They're obviously not the deepest games. They're sort of, I guess, what you might call sort of casual mobile games. And we'll see if they can sort of build those out and build, I guess, communities around those. The other interesting one in blue there is Benji Bananas. So that's a game from Animoca Brands. It is an existing sort of Web 2 mobile game. Pretty nice. This little sort of physics swinging vine game where this little, you've basically sort of almost like rhythm action where this monkey has to fly through the forest on ropes. It's sort of like a pendulum game, I suppose. And the interesting blockchain bit there is Animoca launched this NFT that meant you could collect in-game tokens called Primate, and they've that all sort of happens off chain. So what we're looking at here in terms of this activity, so a big spike in activity, that's because people can now claim the Primate token. So basically, you play the game, you earn the tokens in the game, and then there's a sort of cash out where you can cash out these Ethereum ERC20 tokens to your wallet, and that's basically what we're picking up here. So picking up people who are sort of claiming their tokens, not people who are sort of, this is not actively people playing the game. So expect this to sort of spike up and then come right down again, because basically you could only collect the tokens. There's only a certain, like, I think it was a two-week period where this sort of thing was happening for the first time. So we'll see where that one ends up. Again, the other sort of wider thing with the Benji Bananas, I think, is that it's not quite clear what the Primate token is used for. At the moment, it's just you just get it for free. In the Benji game, it just means people obviously can sort of sell it off, and the token price will go down. So they need to, I mean, I'm sure they have thought about sort of utility and how that Benji token is useful in other ways. So we'll wait and see, sort of the Primate token. So we'll wait and see what happens on those ones. But I just kind of thought interesting to put those in, and sort of, again, games that show this sort of very sort of boom trajectory that blockchain games can have. We'll see if they sort of follow the also sadly sort of traditional bust element as well. But anyway, there we go. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel. See you again soon.